Crawford. Carter.
Yo, what's up? You got Carter, you
Real
got Crawford,
Cavs.
you got Caleigh. We got all 3 C's.
Ooh.
All 3
Three
C's.
That's true. Triple C's in the house.
Triple C.
Equals MC cubed.
Cubed. Yeah.
Move over Einstein.
Yeah, so Einstein, we're rewriting science here,
Rewriting
Boom.
life.
Listen, if you stick with us to the end and you're not confused, you didn't do it
You're
right.
not listening. You
You're not
haven't been
listening hard enough.
You're not
Shove this into
listening.
your ear holes real hard.
So we got someone who I don't even like. I just kind of want to hear your story. Like I don't even want to introduce you
Yeah,
because
no
there's so much.
there's
Like
a lot.
like actor, writer, producer, director, improv person.
Improv,
like you
Improv person.
Improv
Can you put person after every
person.
label, please?
Hold on. Let me relabel
we have
you.
actor person.
Let me relabel you
for
better.
comedy
We have an
person.
actor person, a writer person,
Writer
director
person.
person, producer person, Canadian person.
Yeah, I just want to be
Canadian
acknowledged
person.
as a person,
You,
really.
you are.
I guess I do a lot. My story. That's the scariest question you can ask somebody.
It's
I
too
think
hard. Too hard.
It all started when I was born at 9:30 a.m. on a Wednesday. That's where the story began.
My voice just got real deep. The thing is that story is always evolving. So I feel like I'm right in the midst of a shift, I guess you could say.
a new chapter.
A new chapter, absolutely. There's a lot of change that's been happening in my life, and yeah, sure, you can see that I've done a lot. Like my resume shows I've acted, and I'm a writer. I do continue to write, but even in the writing industry over the years, I have spread myself thinly. I started off as a journalist, writing for a newspaper, and then started shifting into magazine writing and advertising. And as soon as I started dipping my toes into, PR and the corporate world, I felt like my soul was sort of
Started connecting with
being
things.
sucked out of my corporeal form. So I'm like, well,
In a good way, right? You're like,
really
yeah.
Soul
great way,
being
nothing
sucked
against
out of my
spin
corporeal form.
I think that's sort of what led me back to write improv, because I was writing and I started dipping my toes also back into the world of acting and had some catalytic moments with that too. At the time where I found acting again, because I grew up as a theater nerd and doing community theater and doing school plays, and never really dabbled in it professionally when I was a kid, but it was always a dream of mine. And once I started pulling away from that, because, I had a university degree and a military father who wanted me to do something aside from just use it as like toilet paper, putting it up on my wall. And it's on my wall. I mean, that's what I did with it now, but I've spread myself thinly in other endeavors.
Definitely. Other
And
places.
Yeah, when I was doing the PR thing, I had an internship after university. I had like 3 days after my last exam to find a place to live in the city when I started the internship. But I was flying on the weekends as a flight attendant with Air Canada. So I was kind of satisfying the travel bug that I had in me, and I got a bit of that gypsy soul that, I needed as a part of my life. But the PR world was not really doing it for me. And at that time, I had moved in with my boyfriend at the time, whose sister, he had lived in the 2 bottom floors of his sister's house. And she was an actress who had already formed a name for herself and was still this beautiful person inside and out. And she played a huge role in reawakening my love for acting,
For the acting
in particular.
bug
So I started shifting my writing back into the entertainment industry, because I used to write for entertainment articles. And I found myself a little bit rusty and worried getting into audition rooms, keeping myself on my toes, and I wanted to break through writer's block. So I started improv and fell in love with it immediately. Found my tribe of weirdos and, the misfits who come together and create magic. And it really is this underground world full of incredible potential and really talented people, especially in Toronto. It's insane. It's beautiful that I feel like we are being put a little bit more onto the world stage right now. You have people like Bruce McCullough, who's handpicking tall boys, bringing them up with a show, and friends like Nigel Downer just had a show that pitched, I think it's called Bit Players, on CBC Gem, and starting to see friends who are getting that spotlight put on them and having chances to put that potential out there.
Yeah, start doing it. And
Just doing it.
Yeah.
And that's really all I gotta do is just
Shia
do
LaBeouf
it.
said it best.
Can you
just
talk
do
about
it.
how improv's helped you? Because for me, it's changed my life. I only did it like at a regional high school level. It was really fun. It was very, very good. Like you said, it's like a connection of misfits, just creating something magical.
Having fun.
And it gave me the confidence to do what I do, both being on stage as a band or being in someone's home making a presentation. Like, improv's helped me, but how has it helped you?
Well, it's a cult. I drank the Kool-Aid. It just changes your life. It's
It
one of
does.
those, it really,
It
I mean,
does.
in a sense it does. I'm kidding a little bit. But the people that you connect with there are the same kind of people who are willing to put themselves into a place of chaos, into the unknown. We're stepping on stage with literally no script, with nothing, no idea of what we're doing.
Just your brain and your sense of humor and
the
creativity
collaboration.
and collabs.
The trust. I think a big part of it is learning to trust that you have something to offer, and learning to trust that that kind of a creation means you have to be able to listen to those that you're playing with and to yes and that, like to be cliche with it. You're yes anding what's coming at you, and it's that cyclical of the give and take.
What is yes and?
Oh,
For those people who don't know what that is.
I'd say it's probably the cardinal rule, you could say, of improv.
Yeah.
It's the idea that you're not blocking offers that are coming to you. So whatever your scene partner offers, if they say, you know, that's a beautiful dog you have, you're not coming back with, this is a cat. You know, are you blind? It's just immediately you got that sense of, I had a coach that used to say, it smells like farts on stage whenever you block an offer. And it really does. Immediately the audience is like, ooh you're not
that's
even
not
on each
working
other's
together.
sides.
Yeah.
So we're not on your side.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the point. You're wanting to connect with your audience. They're paying because they want to feel a connection.
See comedy, yeah.
They want to see comedy. They want to laugh. That, you know, the only two instinctual reactions that a human being has is laughter and crying. And God, I want both.
I want both at the same time.
I want to make everyone cry. I once had, actually this happened a couple of times. I brought myself to tears on stage. I mean, I was just moved. Sure, they were real tears, but it wasn't like really sad. It was just in the scene, and it was a grounded scene, so it was so cool to be able to go there. I felt safe enough to, you know, be vulnerable, to really cry, to really feel upset. And the audience laughed at me like real hard. And it was the most glorious, confusing feeling I've ever experienced, because it fit to laugh at me for crying in that
For
moment.
the scene, yeah.
But to be
Laugh.
so
Crying,
vulnerable,
yeah,
crying, and to
yeah.
have a crowd of people laugh at you for crying, I'm like, I don't know how to feel. But like, I feel very alive, so I'm going to keep doing this.
Yeah.
I think that's sort of the prognosis. You have to get in touch with the way that you're feeling in those moments, and yes and that as well.
Yeah.
So you're yes-anding yourself, and you're also yes-anding your partners.
And it becomes a
Yeah.
habit, right? So that's a beautiful dog. Yes. And look at how his eyes are shining. And now all of a sudden we're having a conversation about my dog
About
with
my
shining
dog,
eyes.
And his eyes are shining because he's looking at you.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So now there's a story developed, and I love that. And people get engaged when you're engaged. Sometimes. So we were talking off air about how there are different kind of ways you can do improv. And one of the scenes that we used to have to do in competition was called Life, and it was just enacting like real life stuff. And oftentimes those were by far the funniest situations, because you're trying to treat them as you actually would treat them.
Like a real
And
situation in life.
It gets you, like, you engage with it and you let it engage with you, and then it's funny because you're actually taking it really seriously.
Yeah.
And that seriousness, those tears is what people are like, this is, it's engaging, it gets you.
Well, what's cool about doing scenes that, you know, where you try to stay grounded, where you try to recreate moments of real life and you're being serious, is that we've all entered into a room where there's sort of an unspoken agreement. There's a contract that we came here to make shit up. None of this is real,
not gonna be
but
real.
we're
Let's
taking
have
it
fun.
so seriously. And so in those moments where you get to play grounded characters, it's almost like, rather than like doing a Picasso or a Matisse, you are getting really fine-tuned with your brushstrokes of finding the moments of absurdity, and it's pure joy. It's almost, I mean, I guess it's just kind of a different genre, if we, I guess, equivocate it to music. Yes, all of improv is jazz. You're making it up as you're going, but you can have loud, flamboyant, comedic joke after joke, joke per minute kind of comedy. And then you can have really engaging intellectual scenes that are, thought-provoking, really deep, but every once in a while, you still need to punctuate it with
a little laugh.
You need that release. Yeah. And that's what crying and laughter, that's the same sort of thing. You're building up to some sort of attention and then releasing it with either a laugh or a cry.
Is that where the whole expression, the jazz hands, came from? Like,
are you saying that because I'm such a hand talker?
No, but that's just the whole jazz hands. I've always heard the and they always do the shans. Like, I don't understand where that ever would have related to each other. But I mean,
I think that was a Fosse thing. I think that came from Bob Fosse.
Okay, well.
I mean, I don't know.
So where did the improv go? So you're I don't want to do PR. It's soul sucking. I think you said your soul was leaving your
oh my God.
Ripped out of the body.
Okay, for all of you PR people listening, how many PR students are there here, or how many PR are in your audience? I think PR is fascinating, and I think advertising is fascinating. I think the psychology behind it is, I'm still digging into that. I'm obsessed with psychology, especially.
It's a lifelong thing to figure out.
It really is. Yeah. I just chose to utilize what I was learning in a different way. I stepped away from that corporate world, I think because I was starting to feel a little bit more in kind of like a cog in a system, and I feel like for myself, it was sort of removing me from that sense of purpose, that sense of meaning, understanding how it fit into the grand scheme of what my virtue are and what I'm here to do. And as a creator, is it in line with my values, I guess, my moral values? Because it was just, you're doing it for the money, really. By the end of the day, it was kind of like, ooh, do I really believe in this project? Am I really pushing Dove unscented soap bar? Like, we never represented Dove. I don't know why I'm using that as an example, but
yeah, you're correct me if I'm wrong. You're saying, look, I really wanted to do things that I care about big time.
Yeah,
that matters.
So you made the switch into improv, and that got you the connections to then be in the industry as far as entertainment is concerned. Like, how did that work?
Well, it was simultaneous because that wasn't the only thing that I started to dive into that was more industry related, entertainment industry related. I developed a pattern of, dropping everything I was doing and be like, okay, I'm just going to focus on my acting and writing now, or some project that I'd fallen in love with. And then some other corporate offer would come along and be offered to me. I actually ended up working for another company that I didn't realize every meeting I was walking into, I was like handed a new business card with a new title and a promotion. I'm like, thanks, great. I'll see you Monday morning. And I go to my improv show and like completely release and be like, what am I doing with my life? Why do I keep saying yes to these things that I'm not really wanting to do? But I had also at that point
super ultra consultants.
Oh yeah.
Can we throw executive on there now? Whoa, executive super crazy. What? Whoa.
I was a Batman. I had an alias at night, but I was also starting to get back into the audition room as an on-screen actor and building up my work in film and television. And before we hit air, we were also talking a little bit about that and some of the characters that I played. I started having a lot of roles in the genre community, horror community come to me, and it was really cool to this actually, I think, kind of hit a little bit before improv, and it was cool to start to be able to really express emotionally and playing a lot of victims and, the girl running away from a killer. I think that because I was wanting to express emotion, those projects sort of found me. I think there was just sort of an alignment between the energies that I had in those projects
what you were putting
Cheerios in the bowl.
Cheerios in the bowl. Yeah. Were we on air when we were talking
about
that?
We weren't.
Should we explain the law of attraction?
After the break.
That's a solid second break topic.
We got a second.
Hop into it.
We're going. So we have a show at the Rose Theater tomorrow. It's called the DriveWire Show. This is DriveWire. We better talk about the DriveWire Show tomorrow at the Rose Theater, 7 p.m.
Got 3 solid sound drive artists.
It's going to be sweet. It's going to be Meyer Clarity, the Autumn Kings, or maybe it's just Autumn Kings. I don't know.
Not the Autumn Kings.
The Autumn Kings. Autumn Kings.
Just Autumn Kings.
And Nikki's wives. Okay, it's going to be sweet. We got some Meyer Clarity coming out for our first break. We got Tatted on Me and Friend Zone showing up. Catch us with Caleigh Le Grand, DriveWire Radio, CFRE on, what day is it? The 17th-ish?
Today's Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Isn't it the 18th?
18th it is. 19th.
It is the 23rd of December.
It
Thank
honestly
you.
doesn't matter.
22.
We'll see you after
DriveWire
the break.
Radio. Welcome back to DriveWire Radio.
The most professional radio show on air.
Pretty professional. If you saw what happened here between
We
the
always
breaks,
go.
you
I
would
say
never,
this so much.
you know,
We always
like,
go quiet, like at the 3, 2,
Two.
1. We all just go quiet at 1, and then we're
Welcome
on.
back.
Like it's we got
That
tight.
is pretty professional.
We got tight transitions. You know what I
It's a
mean?
radio thing. It just starts getting better. You know, we used to give ourselves 30 seconds. Now we're just up to the 5, 3. We'll get there at 1.
I
you know.
honestly just would be okay with them. Us
We
talking,
flip
and
it
they just
live, we're
turn,
still
they
going.
just turn the mics on, and they just catch up.
Hey,
to
thanks
us,
for
and
joining
we're
our conversation.
Yeah,
now, you know,
we've been
chatting
huffing
for a
along
while.
with
Never
Oh,
know
yeah.
what you missed out on, but that's your fault.
That's your fault because you
For
weren't
not
listening.
being here.
Yeah.
Not listening
show
hard
up, show up. So when I go on your website, you're really good at using the social media thing.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Good at using it. Okay.
Well, I mean, it's attractive. The artwork, the pictures, the way it's laid out, the like the little kind of, you got all the little images of the Facebook and the Insta and the Twitter.
Oh my God,
and
you
Little
mean, like,
logos.
I know
Logos.
right where to find you. Do you know what I mean? Like, so how do you, for people who want to do that and represent themselves well, but then they're also like, holy shit, that's a lot of work. How do you do it and not get just overwhelmed?
Oh, you don't. You get overwhelmed, but that's just part of the
That's
process.
part of the process is
Yeah.
getting overwhelmed.
I think it's about allowing yourself to get overwhelmed and wanting to stick with it anyway. It's actually taking those moments to be like, cool, why? Why am I overwhelmed? Do I want to be doing this? Because if it's a new skill that I don't understand, like coding, and you don't need to be able to code, you can just make a website on like, oh, I don't want to plug. This isn't an advertisement for like Squarespace
No,
or websites.
don't worry
like,
about it. Just
you
Google
know.
website maker.
yeah,
Yeah.
Google can help you there. Google.
Yeah. But
Google pay us.
Croffinator websitemaker.com.
Croffinator website. Whoa.
Rafi.
Let's see if we can buy that.
What? Welcome to Croffinator Website Design, where Croffinator helps you design a website.
This episode is sponsored by
Crawford,
Crappy Websites.
you know what's really funny though is because Crawford's colorblind and he only sees out of
Yeah.
one eye.
I got this eye's blind.
I'm buying all your products.
Thank
If they're
you.
visual, highly visual, all about putting it in front of a screen, I want you to be designing them for me.
that's
Oh,
amazing.
I'll do it. I would happily accept. You know,
You know what?
amazing.
Monochromatic is the way to go.
gray and like white, and then you throw a little bit of black in there. It looks jazzy. Looks jazzy.
that's-
Jazz hands. You
That's
know,
all
like
jazz hands for the black and the white. I feel like Bob Fosse would approve. Yeah. I think for my website and what I create, I do come from a bit of a techie background. I love learning the hows. I know a little bit of coding. I used to study a little bit of it in university, but it wasn't the path that was really calling me. So, I depend on websites that allow me to build things like that. But knowing how to, just having, I guess, simple understanding of elements of design, trying to keep it simple. The whole point is to be user-friendly when you're creating those sorts of things. So
well, it's the fact that you understand those things right off the bat too, right? That those things are the most user-friendly things: simplicity, ease of access, colors.
Well, I think it's easy to get excited about learning those new tools and wanting to use all of them and learning a new plugin and just want to put in, like, just abstract your life across there. And that's what we do with Instagram. It's just a Jackson Pollock, a masturbatory creation of our own lives.
Our lives.
And
This is a picture
I'm
of
so
our
glad
lives.
that you guys are actually recording the cameras pointing towards me, and I just made a masturbatory move. While
like 4 times.
This is your life. This is your life.
I
That's
feel
all
like
you're doing
I'm
on Insta. I don't know what you do.
very comfortable in this motion. To get back to more professional avenues, I think just keep it simple. If you're building a website for yourself, or if you're looking to create social media platforms that are easy for people to engage with, keep it simple. It's the KISS principle. I also love, I'm a photographer as well, so I love understanding how visuals impact your audience, what's connecting with people. I try to not get too deeply involved with how that makes me feel, how many likes I'm getting on photos, or how many followers I do have on Instagram. But we were off air while we were talking about this as well. We do live in a day and time where social media has this double-edged sword to it. It's just a tool. I see it the same way as, you could look at a gun. It's a tool. It's about the way that we use it. This list says a lot about my politics on gun control. It does not. It has no correlation in that sense. But the fact that it's
Can I use social media
you can weaponize social
to kill
media.
Crawford?
I mean, who can never be sure? Take a look at what it's doing on a political level.
Yeah.
And
No, it's shifting nations.
it's shifting human behavior.
Yeah.
And I believe that is a deep-rooted goal that companies like Facebook have. I think that the whole point is that, yes, it's a social tool, but it's also a social experiment. We're playing with tools that we've never had in the past. Mm-hmm. We're moving faster than we ever have before because technology has allowed us to, but it's almost hard for all of us to really keep up with it.
It's almost hard for us to keep up with how fast we're pushing it.
Yeah, and
I don't know if you can at this point.
Well,
yeah, no, because we've
Not with that
it's like
attitude.
we've developed AI so far at this point too, right? If it just starts developing and pushing itself, it's actually out.
I guess kind of the
Smart us
reason
in
I
a sense,
say
we're
that is
shit.
even like this is I know music pretty well, and so I always kind of relate things back in the artist industry to the one that I know. When I think about even the technology in music that's come out since I last went to Metalworks and now,
It's like half a decade.
it's staggering.
Yeah.
It's outrageous the number of whether it's like
Effect pedals or just
effect
like
pedals,
even
or
effect, like,
boards
board
specifically
yeah,
that
for
you can
sure.
run through.
Effect pedals.
I mean, right?
Or
The
even
craziness.
plugins, right?
But
Like
for you, it might be like different apps. Like TikTok just came out now; it's huge.
Do
and
you
like
use TikTok?
I don't
No,
yet, but maybe
no,
we
no,
freaking
no.
totally
Well,
should
maybe we
because
should.
we
It's
like that's the
DriveWire.
thing.
Well, I don't
Connecting,
like the should
like-
would. I
The
don't
should
like
would. You don't want to shitting all over ourselves or whatever it
People
is.
would cook should and they
Don't-
would
should-
turn on TikTok. Would they TikTok should would tick?
Should they would?
I
I'm just concerned if the Vine people are pissed. They're like, damn it, TikTok came back and they did it better than us. I'm not sure how, but they did.
I don't know. Should is a strong word, I think, in my books. You don't need to jump on the bandwagon of whatever is gaining popularity. I also understand the need for, being an entertainment professional. It is a way to connect with your audience. And
Right.
as a storyteller, you want to have an audience.
Right.
There is a certain component that you are doing for yourself to satisfy the creator in you, but it's, at least in my works, I want to have a conversation with other people. I want that reflection. I want to know, I'm curious about the rest of the world. I want to hear other POVs and allow that to influence where I go with my work and to change my points of view, because I would hate to ever be stagnant. So it's a really cool tool to be able to have immediate recognition and reflection and input. Same way with an improv show, it's very different than making a television show or a film. You don't get that immediate feedback of whether or not an audience likes your film while you're making it. You're on set for a month and then it's like, oh, I fucking hope people like it. And pardon my French. But in an improv show, you get to bring that sense of clown activity where you're paying attention to the noises that are coming from the audience. You can feel the energy if it's hot or cold, and you let that guide your next choice. You let that guide the scene. That's the cool part of it, is the instantaneous reaction and that cyclical development of a story, of a narrative that everybody's on board with and invests in that serious way, and then walks out with some sort of catharsis, hopefully.
So I'm hearing these things, and I'm trying to like think of it in a comparison to very modern of happening now. And I'm thinking of the way you said it, where you spend so much time making a movie and you just hope it's going to land. And who is the actor that did Gran Torino? Is that Clint Eastwood? I think it was.
Yeah.
Great movie, but he just released a new movie on the weekend. It got 5 million. One of the worst movie releases ever. That was a movie where they really thought it was going to land with the audience. They worked for months on it, and it didn't. But then you also have a movie like The Lion King, where they released a 30-year-old movie almost, and it almost like $1 billion, you know, like those are and then, you know, how long do they work on that versus just acting and things like that, or voice acting, animation. But I guess that's the way I'm hearing that from, I guess, when
was the
you
question?
Speaking. It was
like, I don't know where we were going.
It was in regards to doing the whole like working and then
to
connecting and
wait.
waiting and seeing how the things transpire. And
Is it nerve-wracking? Are you ever like, I hope this isn't a waste of time? Or do you just know it's going to be balling?
Yeah. Just always know it's going to kick. It's always going to be good.
Yes,
my shit is always good.
It's always good.
I try not to look at anything as a waste of time because there's always oh my God, that's cliche. There's always something you can get out of it. But I've started to fall more and more in love with the shit that I make, with the negative experiences. Because I think that I had these moments of repression in my past that we were talking off air again about a project that I did where I didn't even realize I was going quote unquote method on it. And there were parts of myself, you know, I played
Can you talk about, what happened? Like, how, give me the story. I want to know.
Did you go Joaquin Phoenix? Like, did it just take over your life? Like, you know, or...
Yeah, it did. In many senses of the word. It was a project that a director with whom I'd worked before was lovely and asked if I wanted to play the lead in his segment of an anthology project. And I said, yep, send over the material. He sent it over. I took a look at it and I had an immediate adverse reaction. I'm like, oh, no, I can't.
This is not who I am.
Why did you end up taking it? That's my curiosity, because you've said this now. You're
because
like,
I was afraid of it.
Okay.
I'd say you want to
follow
change
the fear.
You want to change
Was that
yourself.
a good idea?
Great idea.
Definitely.
It was a huge
down.
shift in my psyche, and it took a long time to actually unearth what was happening because I didn't realize I was working method on it. I still don't really consider myself a method actor, but I've had enough friends who laugh at me when I say that and tell me that I was method on it.
When you say method acting, just real quick, what do you mean by that?
Well, I'll use this film as an example. It was a character that I did not want to associate myself. You know, Caleigh Le Grand is not this person, and
because she was messed up.
It was a post-apocalyptic sort of world, and she was...
There was like some cannibal stuff, right?
That was a different segment in it. This was a world in which the way that people wanted to felt again, because everybody was numb in this post-apocalyptic world. There was a lot of cutting, and there was an actual profession now of a cutter. And so my segment was a girl who hires a cutter. She just wants to feel again. And it's a very normalized thing in this society. But she turns out to, spoiler alert, if you've never seen it, she turns out to be the bad guy, and she ends up killing him. And this is sort of, it's just this, you know, day in the life slice of her habitual behavior. She's a killer because she continually has these moments where she just snaps, can't handle whatever trigger it is in that world for her, and murders. You know how it is.
Just the average day.
So, okay, because that's extreme. Like, that's
pretty
extreme.
freaking
Exactly.
extreme.
So you're pretending... I'm
Pretending,
air quoting
air
for everyone.
quotes.
So you're pretending on camera to be this person.
Right, but
how does that affect you?
Your take home at the end of the day.
That's been my journey to figure out. And it's been some years since I did that role. One of the reasons why I actually started my podcast. My podcast focuses on the intersection between mass media culture and mental health. And that was a catalyst.
Plug it.
It's called We're Totally Not Okay.
Where can they find it?
You can find it anywhere you listen to your podcast,
It's
on
awesome.
iTunes,
Google,
on Spotify.
iTunes,
We're also a
Spotify.
part of the Sonar Network. And
It's
so
really
with that,
good. I heard a couple episodes and I really liked it.
awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. And the whole point with that was, you know, we were just trying to have conversations that we didn't really hear. I was looking for a podcast to shove in my ear holes while I was doing dishes where
Nobody
like
wanted to have
I
those
didn't want to go
conversations.
outside. I was still, you know, stuck in my own headspace dealing with, you know, trying to get out of characters like that and not knowing why I was so deeply immersed. And that was, I realize now, hindsight, what my adverse reaction was to reading the script. It wasn't that I didn't think I could go there. I knew I could play the character, but that meant I had to go to deep, hidden, shadowy parts of my psyche because I wanted to do justice for this character, to play it honestly, grounded. And that segment ended up being, you know, I guess sort of the most grounded piece, because the rest of it was sort of an elevated, very typical midnight double feature kind of campy genre film. And I think that that's why that stark contrast of having something really fucked up that seemed like these people were taking it seriously. It was just done in a grounded way. That's sort of what let it shine as its own thing outside of that, or opposite of shine, because it was very dark. But it did take me years of, I think I'm still trying to fully understand that. Never will. I mean, the idea of the psyche is a very large topic.
Yeah, it's expansive.
It is, but dealing with, having coaching from a plethora of different coaches, some of my favorite coaches in the city, and for the actors out there, I will plug two of my favorite. I study
acting coaches?
Yep, acting coaches.
Plug them up.
Louis Beaumander at Beaumander Studios and Sophie Ann Rooney at Raw Actor Studio. They both were just instrumental in helping me figure out how to drop that work and move back across that line out of the character back into myself. Like, drop the work when you go home, not taking it home. The same way that, if you're stressed with what's happening at work, you don't take it home and take it out on your family.
Yeah, I'd say I've got a first responder friend, paramedic, and he had to stop doing the job because he was taking it home. And it's one of those hardest things to disconnect with, and especially being an actor. That's who you are all day.
Well,
and then you're just gotta. And now I'm just back to regular old me.
Which improv helps with, but the idea of disconnecting, I think that's what I was trying to do, and that's why it wasn't working for me. It was a way of, rather than disconnecting, I had to stop disconnecting and disassociating from myself, because I literally repressed some of my experiences on that set and didn't remember a lot of, I had to go through therapy to find it again and be like, oh shit, that really happened. These are real memories that I have. They're not just nightmares. And it wasn't disassociation. It was learning how to integrate those parts of myself and realizing, holy, humans are all capable of this full spectrum.
Yep.
If we are able to reach the highest heights and those moments of enlightenment, we are sure as hell capable of the dark, of the lowest low.
Do you know who Carl Jung is?
Do you listen to my podcast?
You know him? Yeah.
I have a bit of an obsession with psychoanalysis, especially Jungian understandings of the psyche.
And he talks about something along the lines of in order for you to actually be a good person, you have to be a bit of a monster first and then tame it. You have to integrate the shadow, in his words, right?
It's about going into the shadow and understanding that is a part of the human condition, and that's what it means to be human. Right. It doesn't mean that you're acting out on those experiences, but I think that's where, having coaches like Louis, I felt safe to be able to be in the room and practice having somebody who, with one hand on that rope, I could be tethered to the other side and venture into the cave of the unknown. It's about moving into the chaos. It feels
safe as well, as you're doing it, right?
Yeah, feeling safe enough to move into the chaos, like aversion therapy, slowly introducing yourself to something that is foreign and something that you may have developed a fear around, and bringing it into the light, integrating it into yourself.
Into yourself, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's sort of a rough idea of what I was going through with that process. And I was just so fascinated with that. Having studied also psychology in university, I wanted to have more conversations like that. And that spurred the podcast.
That's really cool.
Crazy.
I'm going to listen to other episodes on that podcast.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Can we get plugged one more time?
Of the podcast?
Our podcast. We love promoting it.
It's called We're Totally Not Okay.
But that's okay.
But that's okay.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I listened to one episode. What's your co-host's name?
Currently, it's Tanya Bevan.
Yeah. So I listened to one with her, and you're like, "Hi, my name is Caleigh Le Grand," and she sips something. She's like, "Hi, my name is," just talking through this liquid. I'm like, "Oh, that's awesome. I love that."
Yeah.
It's like us.
We like to be dingled at a little bit that way. I have to be honest. We ripped off this, I guess, that vibe between the organized, obsessive, anal person who produces it and this,
casual, laid-back host.
I'm going to take advantage of these airwaves and rip through them in your ear. John August and Craig Mazin do it on Script Notes, so they have a very similar energy between the two of them. And I just love it. It's one of my favorite podcasts. I'll plug them too. If you're a writer out there, if you're a screenwriter and you want to learn more about screenwriting and things that are interesting to other screenwriters, listen to Script Notes.
Check Script Notes out. Check out us also after this break.
Tomorrow, we got a show tomorrow. Brampton. We'll promote this show before the break.
The Rose Theater.
Rose Theater.
19th. the 19th at 7 p.m. I was going to say 9
I
p.m.
was like
Nah,
9
yeah, you
p.m. I
like
think
that?
she'll start at 7.
Listen, I spell of wrong once on air, so I have no pride. It's okay. I spell of wrong on air one time. It happens.
It happens.
Beautiful.
We're going to the Autumn Kings, Burning Up, and What Want You to Stay by the Autumn Kings. Check us out after the break.
DriveWire Radio, see it free. Welcome back to DriveWire Radio. We have a new hairless dog in the studio. It's a skin animal.
We're
We call it a
talking.
skin
I don't
animal.
know. You
It's
said
the
you wanted
new
a
hit
hairless
breed.
cat. Oh, because you're allergic.
You're
'Cause
allergic,
yeah.
right?
They
So
don't
the-
have a hypoallergenic cat.
They do, and my dogs were hypoallergenic when I was growing up, but I
Yeah.
still, like, if they licked my skin, I would get itchy right away. Like, if I played with
Oh,
my
you're
dogs
like
and my cat,
really
Like real
allergic.
I had to
allergic.
wash my hands before touching my face, or else I'd be in tears and sneezing.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, you
so-
cannot get another.
Yeah, you
cat.
shouldn't have
Well,
a cat.
what's kind of cool is that those allergies have dissipated a little bit, while my anaphylaxis came to full-blown experiences when I was in Hong Kong. So I feel like because I went into anaphylactic shock, I've learned things that I'm allergic to now that will kill me.
That will kill
but I'm
you.
not so allergic to dogs anymore.
'Cause they won't kill you with their love.
They won't. No, I can just wash my hands and I'm okay with
I'm
it.
super grateful that I do not have any of those problems in my life.
Yeah,
I'm really
Whoa.
not allergic to anything. Knock on wood. Like
Knock
I hope
on wood,
I don't
man.
get allergic to something.
Hey,
but
the moment I'm allergic to chocolate or coffee, you're all invited to my funeral.
I just realized, I was thinking about it the other day. I think we were having this conversation, Carter and I. If we were allergic to peanut butter, life would just. Why am I even
it wasn't
here?
me, man. I'm honestly.
Maybe it was Adam. I don't know.
could-
It was
I could
somebody
go-
like peanut butter.
You're not gonna like me after I say this.
Well, you don't like peanut butter? Or
I
you
mean,
don't have to.
it's not that I don't like it. I could just if
could
I
go
never
without
ate it for the rest of my life, I would be okay.
Yeah, well, that's fine.
But if it was on a
Resolved.
sandwich,
That's
you know what I
beautiful.
mean? If it was on a sandwich,
well, take the peanut butter out of your freaking life then, bro. Jeez. You like crunchy or smooth? Don't care because you don't like any of
Okay,
it.
it's great that you appreciate that you don't have food allergies, because it's not
100%.
fun.
I'm really
It's not
grateful
fun.
for it. I'm also, another
life
one that I
allergies too,
learned.
though.
I was in Ireland. And I'm standing in the shower,
Oh.
and I heard this like machine kick on that was
Oh.
in the shower with me, and it was the hot water heater.
In the shower.
Yeah, and I was like,
That sounds dangerous.
Dangerous.
right? I was
yeah.
like, but why? And then I realized we just have an F load of space in Canada. We have an astronomical
have a
amount of
lot of
space.
space, yeah.
Everyone's house is huge, and if you don't think your house is big, you're an effing
Well,
idiot.
they're
Like,
not-
you're,
they're-
you have a huge house, even if you have a small house. Just go to Japan for like,
True.
and just
I
go
mean,
in, just
true.
knock on a door and go in and see how
You
small
can't
their place
go
is.
in 'cause there's
It's
never
tiny,
usually, like,
and
enough space.
Ireland's the same way. They have these little tiny, little rinky-dink hobbit houses, and you're like, what the hell's going on? Oh yeah, tiny country.
country.
Or like it's just like that. Germany and Belgium, same thing. And then you come back home and you're like, damn, man, like I have this huge basin and this huge bedroom and this huge like
I'm
house.
just
Like
gonna
this
go
awesome.
swim in my 35-foot warmed pool because I'm just so uncomfortable.
Very
So,
true.
That's another
It's like-
thing that I have a lot of gratitude for is the space.
I
Yeah.
think it's really cool to venture outside of your country and into other cultures to see how other people understand space and
Completely
utilize
agree.
space. That's part of the cool part of culture shock, where it's like, oh wow, we've got this thing, we've got time and space. That's
Time
really
and
all we
space,
have.
yeah.
What are
Yeah.
you doing with your space over there? And I was so fascinated to see, I think it was a YouTube video somebody sent to me on an apartment that was this tiny little, like probably 300 square foot unit that literally could transform from a bedroom into, shifting a couple of weird walls around, and then it became a kitchen, and then you do it again, it's your bathroom, you do it again, it's a dining room, and it's this continual reusage, reappropriation of the same space. And you don't need to ever, like, you're in the same physical space, but it's
everything
completely
changes
transformed.
yeah.
It was like, I'd love to plug it. I wish I could remember what the name of like that video is. I'm sure if you just Google
I like
that.
that kind of stuff, but again,
I like space.
growing up with the
Yeah.
amount of space that I have, I don't know if I could.
I had a backyard.
Like, I'm sure I wouldn't
It was
die to live
beautiful.
there, but I would be not very happy
struggle,
to
for
live there. I
sure.
don't think it would be very.
Well, even walking over here and talking about the fact that this campus is
Campus is
situated in the middle of a forest, like you
Yeah.
have that greenery around you.
Yeah.
And I was starving for that when I was living in the middle of the city, and I didn't realize how used to the noise and the concrete jungle I was
You
getting
just got used to it, yeah.
until I snapped. I'm like, I dumped my apartment. I got a car. I drove into the woods. I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I just need some greenery.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Well, it connects you.
Yeah, disconnecting is huge.
Yeah.
City,
It's
honestly.
funny that you called it disconnecting, and I see what you're saying, but I just called at the same time. I said it connects you.
I see connecting with nature is that's the important.
But it's
disconnecting with the city.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And Stace and I, we went to we were driving down to Los Angeles, and we stopped in the desert at night. And it messed me up because
black.
Because there was no cities.
No cities.
There was
nothing.
there wasn't even freaking crickets. It was
like
weird.
A vacuum.
It was weirdly quiet. Like you could hear like hundreds of meters away this car driving. You could hear it quietly hit the gravel, and that was all you heard. That was it. And then you realize, whoa, even in a small to medium-sized city, you're being constantly bombarded with all this unnatural noise.
Even before I moved over to, I have a new studio space on the West End, and I'm right near High Park, so I get a little bit of greenery, and I feel like I have a bit of balance. But when I used to drive up to my parents' place before I really figured out what that disconnect or connection with Mother Nature that I really needed was, my parents live an hour north of the city. So it's not like I'm going to a vacuum of a desert, but even there, I had those moments of realization that there was all of that missing. Like the noise is missing, the buildings were missing, and it was such a cool, profound experience.
Yeah, those are good things to be missing almost. It's like I'm actually happy that these are gone.
It was right around the time when I started meditating, and it wasn't something I think that I would have recognized if I wasn't starting to make it a habit of trying to be aware of my surroundings and how I felt in them.
And then how it not reflects, but how it ends up attributing, how you end up attributing from it, or that's not the word I'm looking for, how you end up feeling off of that vibe, or that change of that quietness and things like that. Yeah.
Well, similar.
Words completely gone out of my head.
It's kind of similar. I think what you're getting at, if I understand correctly, is that same biofeedback between the audience and you, the give take, where the environment that you're in for sure has an influence on you once you start to recognize what it's doing. If you're sitting in a lush green forest, it's probably going to make you feel a different way than if you're sitting in a cubicle in a gray cement building in the middle of a city.
I would attribute that to the oxygen-rich environment you're around.
Absolutely,
the amount of just fresh air. This is you and nature, and there's nobody. Presumably no one else. There might be, Sasquatch or something out there, but nothing else, man.
You nailed it with the nothing else. Because so there's the greenery, there's the oxygen rich. So I agree with that.
And animals, of course.
Here's a yes and. Yes and you're not looking for all the inherent dangers of the bustling city. So your brain can just your subconscious is wired to keep you alive. So if you are in a super busy city, your subconscious is expending an enormous amount of energy to make sure you're not getting hit by cars and bikers and being attacked or this, you're always looking around. But when you can just sit on a freaking stump and you can hear that there's nothing around you, you calm. And then also thinking even about a problem, even if you're thinking about what's in the city, you feel better, and that enables a higher quality of thought about the problem that you're trying to get, even though you're physically removed from the geography of it.
You're creating a different kind of space, I think, for yourself.
Hugely.
If you want to think about, the hard drive that you have in you and those habitual tasks that are being used up, part of your brain has to understand how to avoid traffic, how to maneuver through a busy sidewalk, how to wait in line for a coffee, the proper way to order a Starbucks coffee because they have their own language.
I thought I just walked up and threw the cup at him and said mocha latte. I thought that's how that
I want to
worked.
be there when you order a coffee, your next coffee.
Well, I'll be arrested and then never allowed back at Starbucks again. That's how that'll go.
It's all about catching it on camera.
I would probably play the I'm your handler and Andrew is severely he's really not having a good day.
He really gets upset at Starbucks. He's not a fan of the barista on the cup.
I would do that. I think to get you,
Andrew. No. Let's get his leash.
Spray
again,
you with a water bottle.
And I'd be the observer, being like, no, that's the normal.
That's the normal.
Everything else has been constructed, and it is false. It's not reality.
So
this is a real interaction.
I have a question for you that I didn't have before the show that I have now.
Yeah, hit me.
So, Do you study the human brain avidly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I picked that up on you. Well, you mentioned Jung, which means like obviously you're into psychology, but you mentioned having a hard drive. And
yeah.
people don't do that unless you're aware.
It's true. Thank you. I guess my sister is a scientist. She has her PhD in neuroscience and
Nerd.
biochemistry. Nerd, real big nerd. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Beat him up, throw him in the locker, nerd.
Good for you, Nikki. Mom and Dad love you. Good. And then
Shout
I'm an
out, Nikki.
actor.
And she's in Oxford, right?
And she's at Oxford. She's kind of like me, having hopped around. I've hopped around Toronto a lot. I think I got used to the instability of, we had a military father that moved us every 3 to 5 years, and she does the same over in Europe. So she just moved over into the UK, and she's at Oxford. She has, she's always the one that I get to hear tales of when she used to be in the lab splicing, rat brains open and understanding what's actually happening on a neurological level.
That's
and
cool.
It's so fascinating.
Yeah.
She was
So
one of the first
crazy.
people that I heard about CRISPR from.
Wow.
Which, for I guess those of you who haven't heard of it, it's a couple years ago it started to sort of hit the mainstream. It's still in sort of an ethical review process, I think, but it's essentially genetic.
It's what they're using to
recoding.
cut DNA.
Yes.
It's the specific cut. It's like scissors
It's like
for
scissors.
DNA. And what they're able to do is say, okay, we understand that the DNA code for a particular gene here to the left and a particular here gene to the right is these two strips, so they can actually cut out everything that they know to be in between it, and it's brand new technology.
Yeah,
CRISPR is
breaking
crazy.
it down into like the DNA and RNA and understanding what might be a predisposition to certain cancers or
Right.
other ailments, so that we can,
Like they're trying to cut out, like they'd be essentially trying to cut out Down syndrome and things of that sense, where the DNA ends up having like a missing molecule or something that can end up affecting the born person.
From what I understand, it's understanding what those genetic predispositions are for certain ailments. I don't know
Okay.
what the first sets of ailments they are that they've been testing for, but right now it's in ethical review, I believe, because it's like playing God. You're going into the DNA of an unborn child
And you're just
and
playing around with it.
reformatting what is going to come out. So
Yeah.
it's
That's how you get mutant babies, ladies and gentlemen.
exactly,
That's how we get
and that's when I take that and write my next X-Men sort of style show. I love
X-Men
hearing.
Attack of the Nine Fingers. Look, I'm not a new breed. I'm just saying, we're coming. We're coming. We're coming.
But I love hearing about what is. I love the neuroscience side of understanding the human condition, understanding what makes us human, and I think my output with it is more of, my passion is narrative. My passion is storytelling, because I think that
tell
that's
the story of
a
it.
huge part of our society, and story is sort of at the base of our cognitive structure. So I guess it's our way of playing God, is putting movies out
I really
there.
like how you said that. So in sales, they say stories sell and facts tell. And I was actually into somewhat of an online argument. Not an argument. It was much closer to a discussion. I didn't get heated. I don't think the other guy got heated. But we were talking about it, and the guy's trying to tell me that telling a story during a sales call is a waste of time. And I was just dumbfounded that someone would
no.
say that, because if you tell a good story, even just the words once upon a time, they trance someone out. It's like when you watch a movie and you just get gripped by the movie, that movie can change thoughts or beliefs that you can be like, oh, she shouldn't have treated him like that. And you don't even know it, but you just created a belief of your perception because you were so tranced that you didn't even think about the belief you were creating. You just freaking created one.
happened. Yeah.
And storytelling does that.
Yeah.
It brings down the walls.
I think story is a really cool, versatile tool that really just acts as a reflection for ourselves, because it's that idea of somebody sitting in a dark theater and it's just them and the screen. Sure, you're in a mass, but it's an intimate interaction, or at least traditionally. We have a different way of consuming our media now, and our attention span is also getting a little bit shorter, so shorter content seems to be thriving. But
You mean not a hour-and-a-half long podcast on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. It's not.
Listen, if you've tuned out, I'm glad I just said listen to the people who have tuned out.
Yeah, like, listen, that might re-engage them. Like, whoa, well, listen, what? Oh, listen.
I just heard something. I gotta go back to the radio.
I heard something.
The waves are hitting me.
That's amazing.
Shove this deeper into your ear holes. But going back to the
your
idea
ear
of
holes.
story and how it's been around since I don't know, before us. I believe story existed before us. There's something underlying about human nature that is inherent. We are inherent storytellers. So it's just
like
part of our disposition.
You look at the pyramids, right? They have all these graphical images that tell a story. There's a very long novel of a story within the pyramids.
We understand ourselves through story.
It's so true.
Especially illustrated stories.
Yeah, and you can start to see that almost like for generations, even before the cave paintings, I imagine that they were communicating from generation to generation, and it had something to do with put yourself in the shoes of the person who the story is about. And and now you're learning lessons without being, in a war or through, fighting the saber-toothed tiger or whatever the story is.
I think that's, the idea of, I think it was Plato who talked about catharsis. You put yourself in those shoes. You don't have to be the one physically going through the war. You don't have to be the one who is a martyr or sacrificing yourself upon the cross. Yeah. You are socialize into understanding the semiotics of your society, understanding the symbols that represent whatever we've shaped around them in a cognitive association sort of way. And you're able to pick up on the moral behind it because we have particular, go back to that Jungian idea of archetypal stories. And there are only really, I guess, a handful of different types of stories that we tell, and we know them. We know them on in an inherent way. So it's as storytellers, you're really just retelling the same stories again and again, but you're just trying to reflect what is already there and posit where we might be going with the patterns that we've created for ourselves, with the new technologies that we've developed, with the different characters that we recognize on that grand world stage in a political sense, other celebrities, people who have presence, they're there and they're recognizable because they fit particular archetypes. So we have immediate understandings, our understandings of who we think that they are. So, and that's what media does. They latch on to that and they are able to spin narrative around it one way or the other.
One way or another, yeah.
I was watching the House debate the impeachment right now.
Oh, I'm actually kind of, because today was, we try to stay away from political things on here, but today was the day it was supposed to happen.
We can go there for other reasons, though. If you want to talk about it, we're totally cool.
I try to stay away from politics, too. It was social media that it was like,
brings it right
time is live tweeting or live streaming.
Yeah, whatever.
I'm like,
and then all the articles that were pushing, read everything that Donald Trump has tweeted in the last 3 days defending himself. You're like, why though? Why? It's like, the media is trying to send you all kind of different messages. It's just trying to almost overload you with just the unnecessary things
in an algorithmic sort of way. So you're only getting a select bit of information.
And we're in Canada.
Yeah.
It matters to us.
We are in Canada.
But I don't know that it matters as much as, every freaking algorithm thinks it might matter to us in a sense, I don't know. I don't really know the political
matter's a whole
fallout,
nother conversation. I mean, don't get me started on matter. But I think that with the idea of literally don't get me started on
that one killed.
Matter the
you got everyone laughing with that one. Yeah. Don't get me started on matter.
There's just so much of it.
Thanks, guys. Wrote that one before I got here.
That's it. I believe it. We're going to Nikki's Wives now. We're going to Playing with Fire by Nikki's Wives, Shaking Hands with the Devil by Nikki's Wives. These guys are going to be at the Rose tomorrow. 7 p.m. doors, I'm pretty
Open,
sure.
7
Everything's
p.m.
ever at 7 p.m. doors. Be there, be square. I'm going to be on stage. Crawford's going to be on stage. Maybe not. Maybe on stage.
Throwing down some interviews in the back. We'll throw them on our YouTube, our Facebook.
Come shake some
hands. Facebook Lives. Yeah, shake our hands.
Be in a picture?
Ooh, we got to charge for that. Just kidding. No, that's free. That's free.
Catch us after the break.
Fancy.
What is up? We are
Welcome
here with Carter,
back.
with Crawford, and the anemic Caleigh Le Grand.
Caleigh.
I'm sorry.
You get Carly?
I mean, 2 out of
Caleigh.
3 is all
I
right.
say Carly. Oh my god.
I get it a lot.
been-
I
this-
respond to so many
This
different
is at
names
the
now.
end.
What's up, Cody?
This is at the end.
Yo,
It's Kijiji
it's
on the
Kijiji.
end.
I almost made it through. I'm sorry.
Don't be.
How did I
What
mess
episode?
up
Stop
that?
apologizing.
What did
Stop
I
being
write
so
it down?
Canadian.
Goddamn Canadians, eh? We're
Right?
always so sorry. We're always so apologetic.
I want to shake that out of our identity. Thanks.
No,
No.
we don't want to get rid
I
of that.
actually
eh?
love it.
You're good.
You're traveled, right?
really?
Like you,
Okay.
when
Thank
you
you.
tell people and then they believe you.
Yeah.
Most people won't believe you're from Canada because everyone who's American who travels says they're Canadian. But then once you convince them or just prove to them that you're Canadian, they love you for it. So I'm cool with that. I don't really want to.
I'm okay with that,
Have you
too.
experienced that? You must have had like.
I think I've had both ends of the spectrum while I've been traveling. I've had some pretty interesting adventures around the world. I briefly mentioned going into anaphylactic shock while I was in Hong Kong. That was when I was a flight
Yeah,
attendant.
that'll be
Oh my
crazy.
God.
That
Yeah,
would
it
be-
was. That's a great story for another time.
pen? Did you have a pen?
No, I had never experienced
you wouldn't.
allergies before. I didn't know. That was the first time. That was when I
Were you
learned.
close to death?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That's why I stopped being a flight attendant.
That's
it was
so
just too
scary.
risky.
That's so scary.
That's pretty-
It wasn't in the
pretty
moment.
scary.
Like, I get that. I understand what you're
Yeah,
saying.
almost dying wasn't scary at all for you. It was
No.
a breeze in the park.
I mean,
In
it's
the
pretty.
moment?
It's pretty cool to cross the line and come back. I'll tell you, but I mean, it's
Crawford
you know,
did.
it's.
Yeah. Oh, we're gonna have to
I don't know.
have
We'll have
like.
to have you another episode one time, you know,
Let's-
or we'll
Okay,
have the
well, I'm
Baileys
just gonna
after.
I'm
you
just
know?
gonna tease you with it. Pronounced 8 times dead at the scene.
Well, not at
my
the scene. It was like between scene.
It's
and
messed.
Does it
hospital
matter
and
where
all
you
that.
were? It was
messed.
8 times.
It was-
It
Own
messed up.
them.
It was yeah.
That's
well,
an
no,
infinity
no.
sign if
So-
you turn it sideways.
So
I love it. Infinity. I like it. Yeah.
this is the part of the show
Yeah, it's the last part of the show.
where I come out and sing a silly song. Where
Yeah, I
Larry
shut
comes
up.
out
He
and sings
does
a
his
silly
tap and
song.
dance and-
no,
Love this.
no.
Do you need
So
harmony?
what this actually is me telling you what I learned about you.
Cool.
But
Cool.
but here's
you
the way
can
it
also,
goes.
like-
You have to cut me off if you want to
Yeah.
jump in. It's like an open forum.
It's a
Just
fun-
like
I
Like
jump
open
in, like, I have to jump in musically as well.
I mean, it's not really going to be musical. And if you,
Oh,
if
what?
you,
I think it
So
deserves to be
confused.
musical
you
now.
said you
almost,
called
like-
it a song.
I did. There's this
No,
thing.
that is wrong. That is not what I said. No, that is not what I said at all. No, it's not.
Her name is Carly, also Kijiji, but it's really Caleigh.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You learned everything.
Hey, bro, how do you spell of? What was it? Of O-V? Oh, F. Sorry, my bad.
New chapters. Move forward.
New chapters.
Always move forward. I like that. I'm leaving it there. Go back to your childhood
Aw.
loves. This is something that I had to do, man. You go through like school and they push it all out of you, and then the people who find what they used to do when they were like 4 and love,
Beyblades,
and then go right
Pokemon,
back
like-
to doing stuff like that, you get this. I swear to you, if you haven't done this, just sit down and be like, what kind of
Nostalgia.
shit did I love when I was 4? And when you find that person, you will probably be so happy with yourself. And even if you need to make a career change, like I recommend, because you will be so much happier there than you probably are where you are now. Just saying.
You sound exactly like me when I was interviewed for the last outside interview I did outside of my podcast.
Yeah?
You're nailing it so far.
It's one of those things, man. Childhood loves matters. Okay, join something and let it change your life.
And not like a movement, like a
Drink
group.
that Kool-Aid,
Drink
bitch.
the Kool-Aid.
I'm cool with a movement or
A good movement.
or improv.
Or improv.
You join for you it was improv, or a band. Or like I don't
Volunteer
care. I
groups.
honestly don't care. If it's photography classes, Crawford and Adam are gonna take pottery classes.
Pottery classes.
Like, get
Nice.
out there and do the thing
It'd be
because then
cool.
maybe like
you might like it.
I don't know. Maybe Crawford's actually really good at molding stuff, and he doesn't find out about like some other thing he could do molding stuff until he does pottery. Like
do it
you
first.
have
Yeah.
to take the thing, and if it happens to change your life, freaking let it.
That's what I recently did. I made a movie, and we didn't get to that, so I'll come back another time to talk about that. But I was so afraid and didn't know whether or not I could, and fell in love with other roles like directing, and that has taken me down a different path now.
Talk about it.
Oh, do we have time? That's
There's-
like the-
I mean, like it's
there's
not.
so
Yeah,
many
like don't
different
worry about it.
positions when a film being
what
made, as you
is
said
it? Are you,
there,
can
like-
you, do you have a name for the movie?
Yeah, you can actually watch it now. It's online now. We were releasing it episode by episode or scene by scene.
by
It was
scene.
initially made for a local
Scene by
genre.
scene release.
Scene by scene release.
That's how
Cool.
how long?
It is a short film, so it's
10 to
with
20?
credits just under 10 minutes, I
Nice.
believe.
Wow.
And it's called The Monster in Me. So you can just YouTube that or my name, and it somewhere, I'm
We'll
sure.
pop it up on our
It's
YouTube page
Caleigh.
tonight.
It's
you know,
Caleigh.
go to Kijiji.com.
GG.
Kijiji Le
Not
Grand.
even- yeah. .Legrand, .themonster, .psychology.me.
Oh my gosh.
I
that's
actually started
amazing.
making it for, it was used for the social media campaign for a local film festival, the BITS Film, Blood in the Snow Film Festival. And the way that started, like I was never really meant to make a movie. This opportunity kind of came in a backwards way for me because it was initially supposed to be used in the award show. So a lot of the recognizable faces, the vets of that film festival, I just asked them to come. They're a bunch of friends of mine, other actors and directors and filmmakers. So I asked them to come just do cameos of themselves. They were all playing themselves.
Nice.
But I'm like, the one thing is I'm gonna make fun of you. I'm gonna make fun of everything you've done. I'm gonna make fun of the whole genre. Are you guys cool with that? Like, I'm gonna shit on
Can I
everything.
just shit on your whole career?
I'm like, great. So, like, can I make a movie for your film festival? Great. I'm gonna make fun of everything you do. Put it
Everything you've
down.
ever done.
No, it was cool because the film festival director he knows that like the other half of me is comedy. So it's a satirical look at the genre, the tropes that are used, and a lot of inside, like they're Easter eggs for the people who are in that audience.
Cool.
Getting to hear like the title of their film. It was for a particular audience, but what was cool was that it was also it was just a bunch of dum-dums having a dumb time, and it ended up being a really fun project.
Sometimes those are the ones that
dumb
make it.
times.
Yeah.
They're the
Best.
best times.
Yeah. And the fact that on the other side, you know, I'm so happy with the experience, with what came out of it. And it's just a fun, like even those who don't recognize the faces or know these actors or producers or directors, you can still just have fun going along because it's just a simple narrative of these two girls getting sucked into a script and what happened, like all the different villains that they have to fight, which are they're the
Cool.
cameos of everybody.
Yeah, it's like making me smile just hearing about the idea of
I
it.
do
So I'm
like
totally
it.
gonna watch it. What's it called?
The Monster
Say
in
the
Me.
Monster in
We'll
Me.
throw that
Yeah.
up. It's on it's on the YouTube page. You said
It's on the
East-
YouTube.
The YouTube.
Yeah.
It's on the YouTube. Okay. Well,
Yeah, is
find
there a
that
the in front?
there is. I don't know. I don't. Google www.theyoutube.com.
TheYouTube.com.
Let us know what
And
happens.
also KijijiLegrand.com /
Kijiji
the
Legrand?
monster in
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Ah,
You
there
can
we
go
go,
to
there we
any
go.
of those sites and they'll
It's
never take you
Caleigh.
anywhere.
It's Caleigh Le Grand. It's Caleigh Le Grand.
Or Kales. A lot of people know me as Kales.
Kales. Yeah, I
Kales.
saw that,
Interesting.
and then I was like, I didn't have the cojones to just be like, so you got Carter, you got Crawford, you got Kales. What's
You
up?
got
Let's go.
Kales
Yeah.
in the crib with us. You're like,
Yeah,
no,
well,
no,
talk
no,
about an
we're-
identity crisis.
Oh.
I don't know what to respond to anymore because I sometimes when I hear Caleigh, I'm like, oh, I'm in trouble. It's my full name. But then,
yeah.
but I had an experience once outside of a party. I was waiting for an Uber to go home, and this person who only knows me from social media, I use Kales on a lot of social media, so this voice I did not recognize started shouting out Kales, and I'm like, you don't have the right to call me my nickname. Like, what's going on? Who are you? So it was weird. I'm like, I don't accept anything, but I accept everything. You could call me Rachel. I would respond. I do have a friend who calls me Rachel because he's like, nah, you don't look like a Caleigh.
See, that's what I kept saying about a cat at a vet. They're like, no, his name's Milo. I'm like, his name's Tony. That is a Tony right there.
There
You
you
look
go.
at an animal, you just
Hey,
like, you look, you know, you look at a
rename
person, you like, nah.
everyone.
Right? We don't really need authentic names.
Why are we coming with names in the first place?
I think it's just an identity crisis we're all facing. We're all like,
Let's just
life.
all leave our names behind.
are we even really DriveWire Radio?
Are we all about to drink Kool-Aid?
It's time to pour it. Time to pour it.
All right, lesson number 4 was listen, take, use. I love it. I love listen, take, use, or yes and, or whatever you want to call it. Like, in your life, there's going to be a lot of suggestions of not only other people, but just a circumstance.
Things
and
of
sometimes
food or-
you actually have to say no.
Yep.
But vast majority of those times,
Should say maybe.
you got to say yes and you got to, even if it's not you who's directly stepping in, if somebody asks me, hey, can you take this part? It's going to be a yes and. Even if I can't take it, it's going to be, let me see who can.
Yeah.
And that way I'm still adding value to the person who's coming to me. I'm saying yes.
But I'm trying to help you.
I'm interacting with the situation instead of just saying no right away. I'm adding some value to it. And that will come back to you in so many different ways. People will care. Even if you weren't the person who to do the thing, but you hooked them up,
helped.
they will still come to you for the next thing.
Yeah.
It's a really good thing.
I like that, especially as I think that more actors could learn this, because let's face it, a lot of actors want to just take all the jobs that are offered to them or that are brought to them, and
good, bad, doesn't matter.
Yeah, they just want to work, and I get that, but there is something to be said about recognizing what roles make sense for you and wanting to you serve the story first. And if you really believe that you are the right person for that role, fight like hell for it. But if you're not, you probably have friends who are great for it, and you could serve that project, you could help them out, and they're gonna respect you a hell of a lot more for the next time. To also think like, oh shit, you understand storytelling, you understand, you that's that's your God. You're serving the story, you respect it.
And yes, and when you do say I can do it, they're gonna freaking believe you, because you just said no to this one, and this one. You're like, oh yeah, here's one that I can crush, and then you follow up, and now you have integrity and a reputation and everything. So
you're
I
investing
love that.
in yourself in a particular way.
Seriously, big time. And it comes down. So serve the story. I love that. And for a band, I would say serve the song, which is the story, but serve the song. You know, I learned that playing bass. I had to turn my bass down. It sucked. Played a lot of shows. They sucked because I wasn't serving the song, until someone who I really respected heard me in a bar and was like, so what'd you think? He's like, you fucking got to turn your bass down. That's what I think. And I'm like, I got caught not serving the song.
But how cool is it to have somebody who's that honest to be like, hey, here's also a really specific thing that you could do that's going to elevate your work to a higher level.
And you know what I did? I yes-anded it. Like, I accepted it. It sucked to hear. I wanted him to be like, dude, you're freaking awesome. I think you guys are going to be on the cover of a freaking magazine next month.
I think the bass, we all know, though. The bass. Even David Heyman said it.
I mean, bassists, are they even...
They're in the band.
Are they technically human? Are they?
It's debatable. But
if you put person on the end of it, they are.
Yeah.
The bass
person.
Bass
right?
person.
Bass is so important to the overall jam of a song, though. It's like the drums. It's like a spine.
Bass is the thing that no one cares about while they're dancing, but if it's stopped, everyone also stops dancing.
That's like sound in a movie. You don't want to recognize that anybody worked on the sound. The moment that you're actually acknowledging, like if you can recognize that there was work done on sound, you didn't do your job right.
And it's so important. I don't know if I'm going to sound really dumb or smart saying this, but I would say sound is almost more important than visual for me when I'm experiencing a movie. Like,
that's all a personal thing, but it is very important, though.
It just gets me, man. You hear the little, like the really high, like the violin go like, you're like, oh shit, something's going now. Like, it's just
Insidious, where it's like they play that one, no, like that old classic tune that gives that shivers. If they didn't have that and it was just a kid dancing in the background, like that's not as scary as with that music.
I don't remember where I read this or what sources came from, but is it not true that men and women differ in the way that they recall memory? Men are more likely to, or have a quicker association with memory through auditory sense, as opposed to women who, I think it's scent. So they smell something that triggers a memory.
That's cool.
And for men, it's auditory. So maybe that's an association for you.
I know that I specifically am very like I've always just been more attuned to my ears than my eyes. So perhaps for me, music is more important in a video than the scene. But it gets me, man. Like the sounds. Or I know whenever I'm like watching a scary movie and I know it's gonna be scary, I plug my ears and I feel much safer with my ears closed than I do with them. Yeah, I'm watching them, but I'm like, if there's something loud, it's fine. I'm covered up.
Yeah. I think it probably hits. There's got to be like a faster messaging coding in your brain than visual.
I get more scared from the loud noises than I do from the scary stuff on the screen.
Isn't that also what infants, like the first thing that they actually have fears? They have two fears. When you're born, it's of falling and loud sounds. So it's sort of this innate thing.
Well, there you go.
I mean, it is true, though. If you ever look at, like, videos of children, you like a scary creature in front of them, they're not always terrified right off the bat. But if there's, like, a terrifying noise right off the bat, they're crying, they're scared.
Well, doesn't it take time for their eyes to actually fully develop once they're out of the womb?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not like, the doctor's not the scariest thing you're ever going to see in life. That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, but
you
when they're a little older.
You haven't formed those associations yet with those mental images.
Yeah, you don't know anything. You're just a fresh little weasel.
You're just a dumb little baby.
You're just a dumb little kid.
Dumb baby.
You just deserve to be dropped and shouted.
I never said anything about deserving.
I just went for the
Whoa.
2 fears, dude.
The
2 fears.
shadow
We're
side
just
is
being
coming
honest
out.
here. They're just dumb kids. It's
Deserve
all
to be
alone,
dropped and shouted at. It's 2 fears. It should be dropped and shouted at.
Yeah.
So next step here: be and stay user friendly.
User friendly is key.
I'm gonna leave that one where it is because I think it's really
Self-explanatory.
But
It's particular though.
it is, and it matters, and you have to consider how people are gonna interact with your brand and not just put a bunch of shit online.
Yeah.
True.
So be and stay user friendly. Don't get sucked into the numbers. Don't be like look, metrics matter, but don't get killed by it.
It will. Yeah, it will get you.
I think maybe having a healthy balance between quantitative and qualitative is going to help you. I mean, we are sort of obsessed with numbers these days.
Yeah. And for me, it's kind of unhealthy. So I'll just get Crawford or someone else to be like, yo, we're doing good, or need to get better. I'm like, okay, it's all I want to, like, I don't actually want to look at these metrics because I will get lost in them.
I love looking at our numbers. I love seeing how well we're doing,
And then
because we're doing so well.
And like figuring out what is affecting them to try to
That's 100%.
increase-
Yeah, 100. What people interact more
I
with.
find that fascinating.
fascinating.
Like because I was delving into PR and advertising, that's where I started. And because I had the background in psychology, I was always fascinated with how our output, the narratives that we're putting out into the world, how that actually is affecting human behavior.
Yeah, how it affects,
if
like,
that
everyone
makes
who
somebody
interacts with
hit
it.
that like button or hit that follow button. I'm fascinated by what moves somebody to actually create an action.
Have you found any quick answers?
quick answers?
Quick answers? Have you found any?
Simplicity. I think
Yeah,
is,
go to
quickanswers.com.
www.kijiji/Carly.
Spell is it CALEIGH
LEGRAND.
right? .com.
Let's all say it together so it's even more.
Yeah, so I got like
Let's
17
not.
different spellings there.
So yeah, Caleigh.
Yeah. Wow. I feel like we're babies again right now.
CALEIGH Legrand.com. Go there and just for nothing else, check out how this woman is interacting with people online because it puts a very good step forward. It's like I got a little bit like excited. I was like, yeah, we're having this chick
she's
on our
doing
show
it,
tonight.
like, very well.
oh, that's awesome.
Really cool, man. And that I don't think enough people understand that they are a brand whether they want to be or not yet. I don't think they get
We're
that.
all our own personal brands, right?
Yeah, as soon as you get hired anywhere, they're gonna check you out on Facebook,
Yep.
or if you make a call to somebody who wants to be your business partner, they're gonna find you on social
gonna
media and they're
check
gonna
you.
ask for them. They're gonna look at that.
But again, don't get sucked into only seeing yourself as a brand. I think that's a slippery slope as well.
You have to be a
sure.
person
And
as
I
well.
like even with my website, I have like a different version that I have not put out yet, and I've been tinkering and wanting to update it, but I don't live a lot on my website. If people want to actually interact with me and see what I'm doing in realer time, I guess, I live a little bit more on Instagram. I think that's the one that I gravitate a little bit more towards. But, I don't think anybody really ever figures out what their brand is precisely, because I think the moment that you believe you know something, you kill it. The moment that you get stuck in one way, you're stagnant. You have to always evolve. So I think having, or at least understanding to incorporate that component into your own branding, to just stay curious, to want to adapt with the times, to not want to stay so situated in your own, like,
you gotta be growing.
Don't get set in your way.
You gotta be
That's just the way
growing.
to go.
You gotta be growing. You're either growing or dying, and if you're not growing, you're dying. And
And we were doing both all the time. Look at us go.
Yeah,
I mean, you're
seriously,
always
right?
dying while you grow.
it's true. It's true. Parts of you that you
unfortunate.
want to keep, you're using it, and the parts of you that you don't need,
You
like
wanna get rid of.
third-year calculus,
Yin
you
and
just
yang,
let it
baby.
die. Right? It is what it is. Yin and yang, right? The pendulum goes both ways.
Yep.
My next
Some
one
good and
is
bad, bad and
literally the
good.
negatives get you the positives.
Negatives get you
Isn't that
positives.
crazy how we got there?
The dichotomy of life.
That's it. Everything good comes from something bad up front. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
Like, name me one thing that's really good that doesn't come from something bad up front. Like,
Well, I think a lot of the good that you can get, or the learning, the growth, comes from being able to work through the shit.
yeah,
Push
like
through the
that's,
shit to get
that's,
through the
that's
good.
super well said. Follow the fear. I love that you did that. It's really rare. A lot of people would not go towards the fear like you did.
Run away from it.
Most people would read that script and be like,
Nope.
peace out. Like,
I think I'm a bit of an adrenaline junkie, though.
You must be, because you did it, but it served you, right? Like you went through a lot of
Benefited.
stuff, and I feel like you might make the same decision twice if you went back to that spot. Would you not?
If I hadn't have confronted it, if I hadn't dove into the unknown that Plato's cave, I guess.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
Different analogy.
But now
we
that
get
you
what
know,
we're talking
would you do
about.
it again? Would you do it again? If now knowing what you know now, would you do it again, or would you just say, forget, I'll find
I
it?
already know it. I want to do something different.
Oh, you
Always
Yeah.
want to change, evolve.
Okay. I get what
Yeah.
you're
I
saying.
mean, like, sure. I don't ever want to do the same project again or learn the same lesson again. Like, if I haven't learned the lesson, then I'm probably going to bump up against that issue again in some other shape or form.
fair enough. I like that. Gotta learn your lesson.
That's what we're here for, I guess. Follow my church. Dead air reading
Don't
notes.
take yourself too seriously.
Oh my God, take everything I said so seriously and make sure that you can write it down and use it in a court of law against me if you need to. I don't know.
Get it down.
I love taking things seriously. I really do. I love believing in shit. I love investing myself in stuff because that's how we form meaning. That's how we get to the place where we feel all tingly and happy. But at the end of the day, you can hold a little too steadfastly to things that are going to be holding you back. So I think it's, again, finding that sweet spot of holding on to something and really want to follow something for reasons that you're recognizing in a visceral way, or it's like, is this something I should be following and holding on to? Is it fun? Am I having fun? Follow the fun. If you're holding on to something that is showing up in a repetitive slap you in the face kind of manner, then that's where you gotta, I think,
Reevaluate
check yourself.
Almost.
Yeah, check yourself a bit.
Check yourself a bit.
Check yourself.
Yeah, look
Yo.
at yourself in that mental mirror.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you for
you
being
That's
here.
what I learned
Thank
from you.
you.
Yeah, it was really
There was
fun.
a lot to
It
learn.
was fun. I learned a lot from you today. I just told you what I learned from you, but I really appreciate you coming on and sharing with us.
One
It
of the
was so-
most intelligent conversations we've had. We've had a lot of intelligent conversations. You're up there with top 5, top 3.
But also
Top
so
one,
dumb.
top one.
I
You know,
think
I
we
don't-
had
I
some
can't-
fun just being dumb, and I love that.
Well,
We did.
That's
we
my
did.
life.
We had some.
I
We had
love
some
it.
fun. Thank you so much for coming on. Catch
Yes,
us tomorrow
tomorrow
evening, 7 p.m. the
Rose
Rose Theater.
Theater.
DriveWire show. We
Brampton.
got
Should say it's in
Myra
Brampton.
Clarity, Autumn Kings, Nikki's Wives showing up.
Sponsored by Sound Drive Records.
Thank you to Caleigh Le Grand.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for DriveWire listeners. Thank you for DriveWire
Happy
supporters.
freaking New Year's.
I'll say Happy New Year's.
Merry holidays.
Merry holidays, right? It's Merry Holidays.
So political.
Don't let the elf on the shelf steal your Christmas presents. I mean, holiday presents.
We'll catch you next
And
year, man. We'll catch
Catch
you
you next year, 2020.
Have a good
Do
one,
we- are we
guys. Peace
departing?
out. Stay safe. Drink responsibly.
Use your DDs, taxis, Ubers.
See you in 2020.
DriveWire Radio.
Peace out.
See you free.